Hey everyone, welcome back to Steven Watches Movies. I'm Steven and I love watching movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the BAFTA and SAG winner, Conclave. Conclave has quietly entered this race, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens on Oscar night. If the smoke turns white, Conclave may be a big winner. I'm kind of running out of time with the Oscars approaching, so I'm going to try and keep this video brief. Let's dive in. Directed by Edward Berger, in Conclave, a group of cardinals need to assemble after the death of the Pope in order to elect a new one. As they navigate the complexities of faith, power, and personal ambition, rivalries and moral conflicts emerge. Performances. Ralph Fiennes is incredible as the Conclave manager, Cardinal Lawrence. He remains pretty consistent and even-toned throughout the entire runtime of this film, and oftentimes that doesn't get praised. Subtle performances or performances that aren't showy don't get praised, but here we are seeing him get praised for this role, and honestly, it's very deserved. Stanley Tucci is good as Cardinal Bellini. He does have a few scenes where he can really shine. However, I do view this film as an ensemble piece, so his performance doesn't necessarily stand out more than any other supporting character in the film. Carlos Diaz as Cardinal Benitez is a very calming presence in the film. I was incredibly surprised to find out this was his feature film debut. When I was watching it at TIFF, I honestly thought this was a seasoned actor, and no, this is his first feature role. Isabella Rossellini as Sister Agnes is good. I just don't quite understand the nominations she's been getting. The role is very, very small, and she really doesn't get much to do. She really only has one or two scenes of substance. I'm not knocking the performance at all. It is a good performance. I just don't think there's enough there to really make a case for a nomination. Crafting the story. Edward Berger is a very capable director. I loved All Quiet on the Western Front, and here in Conclave he shows just how good he is. How is he not nominated for Best Director? I'm very confused by that. Jacques Audiard gets in, but Edward Berger doesn't? I don't know. The cinematography in Conclave is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Like in Best Director, how is Conclave not nominated for Best Cinematography? Again, Amelia Perez was nominated for cinematography, but Conclave isn't? Tell me how that makes sense. For the score, listen, I wasn't the biggest fan of All Quiet on the Western Front score. As much as I love that film, I just couldn't fall in love with the score for whatever reason. That's not the case with Conclave. I love the score in Conclave. I think it does just enough and in the right moments to elevate this film. I do think the Conclave score is kind of related in a way to the All Quiet on the Western Front score because it goes fairly unnoticed through most of the film, but then you just get these sharp jabs every once in a while. And it's funny because I didn't like that in All Quiet on the Western Front, but I do like it in Conclave. I think for me, it was just the genre piece of it. Because Conclave is more of a thriller, the sharp jabs of score work really, really well to create that tension and that atmosphere. Whereas All Quiet on the Western Front was a war film, and I don't necessarily need sharp jabs of score every once in a while to emphasize what's going on. The editing is also a highlight. It is tight, it is engaging, it doesn't take the foot off the gas from the beginning to end. It really works. Awards, nominations, and box office. So according to IMDb, at the time of filming, Conclave has won 82 awards and has been nominated for 312. Conclave initially seemed out of this race from the beginning, but has come back into it recently with wins at BAFTA and SAG. And according to Box Office Mojo, this film has grossed over $100 million worldwide. Critical and audience reception. As of filming this, it has a 93% Rotten Tomatoes score. It also has an 86% popcorn meter. That's pretty much in line where I think this would be and honestly should be, I think, in the 85 to 95 range. Michael Coleri from the Niagara Gazette says, "What's clever about Conclave is how its writer and director keep both the tension and the shifting of dynamics rising as to who's leading the papal pack and why. Conclave has fascinating dramatic elements. It succeeds wonderfully as entertainment." Thomas Lafley from the AV Club says, "Conclave dares to dream of a kinder, bigger, and more inclusive version of the world. A world where doubt and faith go hand in hand, where one doesn't have to choose between bad and worse, and absolutism is a sin." On Letterboxd, it is currently sitting at a 3.9 out of 5. 40% of users who rated Conclave gave it 4 stars, which is a very healthy score. I personally gave it a 4.5 for comparison. The only thing really keeping this from being a 5-star film for me was the ending. So it wasn't so much that I just feel like the ending, it was meant to be this big reveal, but then the twist at the end, it's not so much oh my god, I can't believe that, or I had no idea, I didn't see that coming. It was more huh, what, really, okay. Like it just kind of fell flat. Even when I watched it at TIFF, like the audience didn't really know how to react to the ending because they were like, "Really? That's the ending? Okay, cool." But I don't think the ending hurts the entirety of the film, and that's why I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Oscar chances. Conclave is nominated for 8 Oscars. I will try to be brief as I go through this list. Okay, let's start with score. Like I said, the score is fantastic. For me, it's between this film and The Brutalist. The Brutalist might end up taking the Oscar home, but Conclave is also a deserving winner. And really, it's at least a very close second to The Brutalist, I think, in score. All right, costume design. The costumes are good. You can see that there is craftsmanship in the work, no doubt about it. Like the one little thing that I would kind of pick out against the costumes, and again, it's not the work that went into them, it's just that most of the costumes in this film look the same. Each character does have differences in their costumes, but everything looks very, very similar. Realistically, I think it's probably behind Nosferatu and Wicked anyway, so I don't see it winning here. All right, production design. Out of the 5 nominated films, I would say that Conclave probably has the least production design. And I mean that in terms of, like, for instance, like Wicked built these elaborate sets. Nosferatu has this like gothic horror take with the architecture. The Brutalist has many locations throughout the film, and then of course there's the building that he's building throughout the film. And then what else we got? Oh, Dune Part 2. You know, it's this sprawling epic with many locations, and they all look stunning with different designs. So I feel like Conclave is probably in 5th place, as it's mainly set in hallways, rooms, courtyards, places that the design doesn't necessarily need to shine. Here's the thing, though, is I actually think that Conclave should be more in the conversation for best production design, because I think sometimes we often take more for being best. These are supposed to be real places in the world that we live in, not in the worlds of Wicked and Dune Part 2 and Nosferatu. Conclave is very much set in our world. So to get those little details right, to make it feel like it's really, you know, like the rooms that they sleep in during the Conclave, there's so much detail in it. Probably spent too much time talking about production design, but I just wanted to get that out. Editing. Honestly, it can take editing. I think it can really take editing. I think editing comes down to the 3 favorites for Best Picture, Conclave, The Brutalist, and Anora. Any of those 3 could take the editing award. However, if any film besides Conclave or The Brutalist wins, I'm going to be very disappointed. All right, adapted screenplay. I think this might be the only lock for this film. Sing Sing may make a stand for this award, and there is a world in which Sing Sing wins for it, and hey, I will be truly happy if it does. Ultimately, though, I do think Conclave is going to win Best Adapted Screenplay, and it will be an Oscar winner at the end of the night. Supporting actress Isabella Rossellini. Like I said earlier, I don't know why this is the nomination. She has no real shot in this anyway, because it's going to be Zoe Saldana, so let's move on. Best actor for Ralph Fiennes. Now, this is interesting. It has been Adrien Brody for most of the award season, but Fiennes not having a statue yet in his career could make things a little interesting. I haven't finalized my predictions yet for this category, and this is exactly the reason why. Because honestly, Brody, Chalamet, and Fiennes are kind of the 3. I do view Chalamet on a lesser tier because I think him winning SAG, sure, the SAG award does connect with the Oscar most years, but because Chalamet has won basically nothing else, and it's been the Brody show the entire time, I don't necessarily feel like that's going to break that streak. I do honestly think that probably Adrien Brody's going to win. I think that might be my prediction once I actually sit down to think about it a little bit further. But Fiennes has a shot. He does have a shot. So this is kind of like a maybe category. And then we come to Best Picture. I think Conclave is either taking gold, silver, or bronze in this category, which is to say it's first, second, or third. It's not going to be any lower than third, I don't think, especially with the preferential ballot. I really do think that Conclave has a shot here. You know, can it actually win Best Picture? Quite possibly. I mean, taking the BAFTAs and the SAG is a nice addition to its trophy case, for sure. I still think the Best Picture might go to Anora, unfortunately. But I would love a Conclave win. I honestly would love a Conclave win. I think going through this season and having other movies, like we've had the Brutalist era where the Brutalist was winning a bunch of things, then we've had the Anora era recently, and then now we come to the Conclave era? I don't know. We'll find out. So to recap, it has a real shot in score, editing, screenplay, actor, and picture. So 5 out of its 8 nominations, that's really not bad at all for having a real shot in. I think screenplay, I think it does go home with at least one of these awards for best adapted screenplay. It could be a player in score against The Brutalist, but I think ultimately The Brutalist was going to win. And if things go interestingly at the Oscars, and if best editing is awarded to Conclave, then I think that might change the shape of where the night's going. So that'll be interesting to see. Actor, I don't think it's going to be Fiennes, but I wouldn't be mad if it was. But I really do think that Adrian Brody's performance is just on another level. I also don't think it's necessarily fair to compare because Brody has to carry a 3.5 hour movie, whereas Fiennes, he does carry a 2 hour tightly paced thriller, but there are fantastic supporting performances around him, whereas with The Brutalist, it's basically Adrian Brody and Guy Pearce for the majority of the film. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out and see if Conclave can take any of these home. So for me, Conclave is a tight, behind closed doors thriller that has fantastic editing, direction, score, cinematography, script. The only real thing from holding it back for being truly exceptional for me is the end. You know, the end just kind of comes out of nowhere and it doesn't feel earned. Like I said, because it's based off of a book, I don't know if it's presented better in the book or maybe it's presented better in the film, but either way, it just kind of falls a little flat for me. And when you compare it to the rest of the film and just how excellent and engaging and intriguing the rest of the film is, it is kind of a disappointment, but I think overall the film is extraordinarily strong and well made. So what did you think about Conclave? Did you like the ending? Did you feel like it was earned? Or like me, did you kind of feel like it came out of nowhere? I mean, if you read the book, then you knew it was coming, and so you probably could have been more prepared for it. But anyway, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.